The smoke alarm pierced the night like a scream I couldn't ignore, yanking me from a dream where Julian's lips were finally mine. I bolted upright in bed, heart slamming against my ribs, the acrid stench of burning paper clawing at my throat before my brain caught up. Downstairs, in the heart of our creaky old craftsman in suburban Seattle, my dad Bruce, the man who'd raised me single-handedly after Mom bailed, was torching my secrets, one page at a time. "Alex, what the hell is this?" His voice boomed up the stairs, raw and ragged, laced with a disgust that hit me like a gut punch. I stumbled into the hallway, barefoot on the cold oak floors, and froze at the top of the landing. There he was, silhouetted by the flickering glow from the kitchen sink, feeding my hidden journal into the flames of a metal trash can. The one where I'd poured out every stolen glance at Julian, every ache for a life I wasn't brave enough to claim. While I'd been dreaming of love, he'd been unraveling me. I don't remember descending the stairs. One moment I was a ghost at the top, the next I was lunging for the can, flames licking my fingers as I yanked it away, water from the faucet hissing like an accusation. "Dad, Bruce, stop. That's mine." My voice cracked, not from the heat, but from the betrayal blooming cold in my chest. He grabbed my wrist, his grip iron from years on construction sites, eyes wild under the brim of his faded mariner's cap. "You think I raised a faggot in my house?" The word landed like a slap, ugly and American as apple pie gone rotten, slung from the mouth of the man who'd taught me to throw a curveball, to fix a leaky faucet, to believe in second chances. I wrenched free, journal smoldering in my arms, the ink blurring into illegible confessions. Julian's name stared back at me, half erased, a ghost in the char. That was the night everything tilted. Bruce, my rock, my anchor, had cracked open while I slept, rifling through my room like some paranoid cop on a bust. He'd found the journal tucked under my mattress, the one I'd started after that rainy sophomore year when Julian Hayes transferred to Roosevelt High, all brooding eyes and a skateboard under his arm that made my stomach flip like I was grinding a rail myself. Julian, with his messy blonde curls and that laugh that cut through the noise of the cafeteria like sunlight on Puget Sound. I'd watched him from afar, scribbling feverishly about the way his jeans hugged his thighs during PE, the accidental brush of shoulders in the hall that left me breathless and ashamed. But shame was a luxury I couldn't afford anymore. Not after the fire. Bruce stormed out that night, muttering about fixing this, leaving me to drown the flames and salvage what I could. The journal was a casualty. Pages curled like dying leaves, but the real burn was deeper, a father-son bond reduced to ash. I texted Julian at 3 a.m., thumbs shaking, "Can't sleep." "You up?" His reply came fast, "Always for you." "Meet at the pier?" The pier at Golden Gardens was our spot, a weathered stretch of wood jutting into the salt-choked air, where ferries ghosted by like promises in the fog. I drove there in Mom's old Subaru, the one Bruce had fixed up for my 16th. Windows down to let the Pacific wind whip away the smoke smell clinging to my hoodie. Julian was waiting, silhouetted against the city lights twinkling across the water, a thermos of coffee in one hand and that damn skateboard propped against a piling. He was 22 now, a barista at the indie spot in Fremont with dreams of graphic design school. But to me, he was still the boy who doodled hearts in the margins of my chem notes. "Jesus, Alex, you look like hell." He pulled me into a hug before I could speak, his body warm and solid, smelling like vanilla lattes and raindamp flannel. I buried my face in his neck, the sobs I'd held back crashing out in ugly, hiccuping waves. He didn't ask. He just held me, one hand rubbing slow circles on my back, the other tilting my chin up until our eyes met, his green and steady, mine red-rimmed and wrecked. "It's my dad," I finally choked out, sinking onto the damp planks beside him. The words tumbled then, a flood I couldn't dam. The journal, the fire, the slur that echoed in my skull like a bad loop. Julian listened, jaw tightening with each detail, until I finished and the only sound was the lap of waves against barnacle-crusted posts. "Fuck him," Julian said softly, but there was steel in it, the kind forged in foster homes and family courts. He'd told me his story once, over cheap IPAs at a dive bar, parents who bailed when he came out at 15, bouncing between relatives until he aged out. "You don't owe him your soul, Alex." "Not for this." I wanted to believe him. God, I did. But Bruce had been my everything since I was 8, when Mom split for a yoga retreat in Bali and never looked back. He'd worked double shifts at the site, come home with calloused hands to microwave dinners and bedtime stories about Babe Ruth. He cheered at my games, patched my scrapes, even sat through that god-awful production of Rent in high school theater because it's what you like, kid. And now he saw me as a stranger, a threat to the straight-arrow life he'd built from his own blue-collar bones. We sat there till the sky bruised purple with false dawn, Julian's arm around me, his thumb tracing idle patterns on my knee that sent sparks up my spine. "Come crash at my place," he murmured, lips brushing my temple. It wasn't a question. I nodded, too raw to argue, and followed him to his cramped apartment above a tattoo parlor in Ballard. Posters of indie bands peeling from the walls, a futon piled with sketch pads, the faint hum of the fridge like a heartbeat. That first night, we didn't sleep. We talked till my voice gave out, then he pulled me close, our bodies fitting like puzzle pieces I'd been too scared to force. His kiss was tentative at first, a question in the press of lips, but when I answered, fierce, desperate, it ignited something holy. Hands roamed under shirts, breaths mingling in the dim glow of his lava lamp, and for those stolen hours, Bruce's betrayal faded to embers. Julian was my rebellion, my redemption. A boy with ink-stained fingers who saw the queer kid in me not as a flaw, but a fire worth tending. Morning came too soon, coffee brewing as Julian sketched me from across the table, his eyes flicking up with that half-smile that made my chest ache. "You're beautiful when you're wrecked," he said, charcoal smudging his cheek. I laughed, the sound foreign after the night's wreckage, and reached across to wipe it away. Our fingers tangled, and suddenly we were kissing again, slower this time, savoring the taste of possibility. But possibility is a fragile thing in America, where love like ours gets tangled in family trees and small-town stairs. I had to go home eventually, face Bruce, salvage what scraps of us remained. Julian drove me back, hand on my thigh the whole way, a silent vow. "Call me if it goes south," he said at the curb, stealing one last kiss that lingered like smoke. The house was quiet when I slipped inside, the trash can scrubbed clean but the air still thick with ghosts. Bruce was at the kitchen table, nursing black coffee, his broad shoulders slumped under a flannel shirt I'd bought him for Father's Day. He looked up, eyes bloodshot, and for a second, I saw the man who'd bandaged my knee after a Little League wipeout, not the Inquisitor from last night. "Alex," he started, voice gravelly. "Sit." I didn't. I stood there, arms crossed like armor, waiting for the next blow. "You burned it." My words. My truth. "What the hell, Dad?" He rubbed his face, stubble rasping. I found it when I was fixing your bed frame. Thought it was homework or some shit. Then I read. That name. Julian. The way you wrote about him. He trailed off, jaw working. I'm not ready for this, kid. Not some fairy tale in my house. The slur again, softer this time, but it still stung. It's not a fairy tale. It's me. And if you can't handle that, maybe this isn't your house anymore. The words were out before I could reel them, bold from Julian's fire in my veins. Bruce's face crumpled, not in anger, but something worse, defeat. I love you, Alex. Always have. But this scares me. What people will say at work, church. Your grandpa, he'd roll in his grave. Grandpa, the World War II vet who died when I was 10, preaching bootstraps and real men. Yeah, I knew the script. But standing there, with Julian's kiss still tingling on my lips, I felt the weight of it all, the generational chains, the American dream that demanded straight lines and white picket fences. We talked, or tried to, halting words over cooling coffee, him admitting the panic that led to the match, me spilling fragments of my heart without the journal's safety. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but a crack in the door. Give me time, he said finally, standing to clap a heavy hand on my shoulder. But no more hiding. If this is you, we'll figure it. I left for work. Part-time at the bookstore in U District, shelving queer lit I'd only dared read in secret. The bell jingled as I entered, and there was Julian, leaning against the counter with a dog-eared copy of Giovanni's Room, grinning like he'd won the lottery. Survived the lion's den? He slid the book across, our fingers brushing electric. Barely. I leaned in, voice low. But I want more mornings like last night. His eyes darkened, promise in the green depths. Then let's make them, Alex. No more sleeping on it. That week blurred into a haze of stolen moments. Coffee runs where our knees knocked under cafe tables. Late-night drives along I-5 with the radio blasting the National. Julian's hand in mine as Seattle's skyline blurred past. He was easy with affection. A casual arm around my waist in line at Pike Place. Uncaring of the sidelong glances from tourists in Patagonia vests. Me? I was still jumpy, scanning for Bruce's truck in every parking lot. But Julian's steadiness wore me down like waves on stone. We made love again on a rainy Thursday, thunder rumbling over the Olympics as sheets tangled around us. His body was a map I memorized, freckles like constellations across his chest, the dip of his spine where I pressed kisses like anchors. I love you, he whispered into my collarbone, the words a revelation that shattered me open. I echoed them back, tasting salt, tears or sweat. I couldn't tell, and in that moment, the world narrowed to us, two boys carving space in a country that sometimes forgot we belonged. But America doesn't let you forget for long. The conflict brewed slow, like Seattle's perpetual drizzle turning to downpour. It started with a call from Aunt Linda, Bruce's sister, the family busybody who'd hosted every Thanksgiving with her Jell-O salads and passive-aggressive Bible verses. Heard from your dad you're going through something, she said, voice syrupy over the line. Need to talk? Pray? My blood ran cold. Bruce had cracked, told her, probably over beers at the VFW, seeking absolution. Betrayal. Round 2. Sharper because it came wrapped in concern. I confronted him that night, phone clutched like evidence. You told Aunt Linda? After everything. He winced, plate of meatloaf halfway to his mouth. She guessed. Saw you with that boy at the market. I needed advice. Advice? Or ammunition? The words flew hot, and I was out the door before he could respond, tires squealing toward Julian's. He was mid-sketch when I burst in, face crumpling at the storm on mine. What happened? Dad outed me. To family. To everyone. I paced the tiny living room, rage and hurt twisting like vines. Julian pulled me down, legs entwined on the futon, his calm a bomb. Then we face it together. You're not alone, Alex. But alone is what I felt when the text started, cousins with rainbow emojis masking judgment. Old high school buddies ghosting. Even Coach Ramirez from baseball days heard the news. Tough break, kid. The betrayal festered. Bruce's time, stretching into silence. Our dinners devolving to nods over the TV. I moved half my stuff to Julian's, the apartment swelling with my clothes in his dresser. Our toothbrushes side by side. Domesticity that thrilled and terrified. The climax hit on a crisp October Friday. Leaves turning the streets to fire as Bruce cornered me after a shift. He'd driven to the bookstore, truck idling like a beast, and when I emerged, he was there face haggard, a six-pack dangling from one hand. We need to talk. For real. His voice was plea more than command. I hesitated. Julian's go if you want. I'm here, text burning in my pocket. Fine. But no bullshit. We ended up at Alki Beach. The Olympics a purple smudge across the sound. Waves whispering secrets to the sand. Bruce cracked a beer. Passed me one, our old ritual, and the words spilled then, unfiltered. I was wrong. Burning that book. Telling Linda. I thought I was protecting you, from the world. From me failing you like your mom did. He stared at the water, voice cracking. But I get it now. Saw you with Julian at the pier last week. The way you light up. Shit, kid. That's what I want for you. Not this hiding. Tears tracked his weathered cheeks, and something in me shattered. Not in anger, but release. It hurts, Dad. You hurt me. I know. He pulled me into a hug, awkward and bone-crushing, the kind that smelled of sawdust and regret. Forgive an old fool? Not yet, I said, but I hugged back. But maybe soon. Julian waited at home, takeout Thai steaming on the counter. How'd it go? Kissed him deep, hands framing his face. Healing. Like us. That night, we made plans, real ones. Julian's portfolio was stacking up. He'd applied to Cornish College. Visions of murals and magazine spreads. I'd finish my associates at Community, maybe transfer to UW for Lit. Together, we'd navigate the mess. Family barbecues with tense smiles, pride parades hand in hand, the slow thaw of acceptance. America's not a monolith. It's diners at dawn where waitresses wink at our intertwined fingers. It's Bruce showing up to our first official date at that Italian joint in Capitol Hill, gruffly shaking Julian's hand with a, treat him right, kid. It's betrayal scars fading to stories. Love's quiet victories in the face of storms. In the end, while I'd slept that fateful night, my world flipped, not to ruin, but to revelation. Bruce and I rebuilt, brick by aching brick, Julian the mortar holding us steady. And on clear nights, from the pier or Julian's fire escape, we'd watch the stars will over the sound. Two souls and a father learning that love, in all its queer glory, is the most American thing of all. The fragile peace with Bruce held through November's gray veil. But peace in Seattle is like the sun. Fleeting, often obscured. Julian and I dove deeper, our rhythm sinking like the tide's pull. mornings tangled in his futon, the scent of his cedarwood soap mingling with the espresso grind from the cafe below. Afternoons sketching side by side, my dog-eared Baldwin beside his charcoals, words and lines bleeding into each other. He was my muse, my mirror, reflecting back a version of Alex who dared to dream beyond the closet's shadows. One evening, as rain pattered the tattoo parlor's neon sign, Julian unrolled a canvas from his closet. Our canvas, he'd said with that crooked grin. It was a mural sketch. The pier at dusk, two figures entwined against the city glow, waves curling like lovers' fingers. For us, he murmured, pressing a paint-smeared kiss to my neck. A place to always come back to. I traced the lines, heart swelling. It's perfect, but perfection's a lie we tell ourselves before the fall. The betrayal I'd half forgiven in Bruce reared its head in subtler ways. A hesitation in his voice when I mentioned pride plans, a Bible tract left on the dash of the Subaru like an afterthought. He was trying, God bless him, attending PFLAG meetings at the community center with the earnestness of a man cramming for finals. Met a guy there tonight, he'd say over burgers at Dick's, ketchup packets mangled in his fist. Lost his son to AIDS back in '92. Makes you think. It did. Made me think of the epidemics we dodged, the ones still lurking in whispers. Monkeypox scares on the news, conversion therapy bans that felt like Band-Aids on bullet wounds. America, land of the free, but freedom's price tag read conditional for folks like us. Julian and I navigated it with humor, mostly inside jokes about rainbow capitalism at Target, where we'd stock up on lube and LED lights for his apartment, giggling like idiots in the aisles. Then came Thanksgiving. Aunt Linda's sprawling rancher in Bellevue, turkey basting in the oven, the air thick with cranberry and unspoken tensions. Bruce had insisted, family's family, Alex. We show up. Julian came too, brave as hell in a button-down that hugged his shoulders just right, his hand a secret anchor in mine under the tablecloth. The meal started civil, passing rolls, small talk about Seahawks odds, but Linda's eyes were scalpels, flicking between us. So, Julian, she said, spearing a green bean with surgical precision. What do your folks think of all this? Arrangement. The table hushed, forks pausing mid-air. Julian's grip tightened, his voice steady as steel. They think what narrow minds do, ma'am. But Alex and I, we're building something real. Bruce cleared his throat, a rumble like distant thunder. Linda, ease up. Kid's happy, that's what counts. She pursed her lips, the Bible thumper in her rising. Happy? In sin? Bruce, you're enabling this. This lifestyle. Remember what Pastor says. Pastor can shove it, Bruce snapped, surprising us all. His chair scraped back, face flushed. I burned my boy's words once. Won't let you burn his spirit. The room erupted then. Cousins murmuring. Uncle Ray muttering about live and let live. Linda's face twisting into a mask of righteous fury. I stood, pulling Julian with me, the weight of eyes like stones. Thanks for the invite, I said, voice tight. But we're out. We fled to the Subaru, rain sheeting the windshield as Julian laughed, wild and freeing. Your dad's a badass. Yeah, I said, leaning over the console for a kiss that tasted like defiance. He is, but the fallout lingered. Linda cut Bruce off, texts unanswered, holiday cards returned. Whispers rippled through the family grapevine, reaching even my old crew from high school. A group chat pinged with dude. Saw your dad on the news? Wait, News? I scrolled frantically. Local feed. King 5. Construction worker stands up for gay son at family feud. Some busybody cousin had leaked it, turning our dinner disaster into clickbait. Bruce's face, mid-rant, pixelated across screens. The headline screaming, "Blue-collar dad goes rainbow." He laughed it off over beers that night. Julian sketching caricatures of the reporter on a napkin. Fame at last, Bruce chuckled, clinking bottles. But I saw the toll, the sidelong stares at the site, foreman's jokes that landed like jabs. Betrayal's echo, from family to public square. Winter deepened, and with it, our love's quiet bloom. Julian got into Cornish. Tuition a stretch but scholarships whispering hope. We celebrated with dim sum in the ID. Steam rising like dreams. His hand on my thigh under the booth. This is it, Alex. Our life. I believed him. Till the call came, shattering the frost. It was a Tuesday. Snow flurrying outside the bookstore window as I rang up a stack of holiday romances. My phone buzzed, unknown number. Alex? This is Marcus from the site. Your dad's. He's down. Ladder slip. Hospital. The world grade. I drove like a demon through slushy streets to Swedish. Tires hydroplaning on every turn. Julian's "I'm coming" text a lifeline I couldn't answer. Bruce lay in a bed that dwarfed him. Tubes snaking like accusations. Face pale under the fluorescence. Slipped on ice, the doc said. Clipboard a shield. Fractured pelvis. Internal bleeding. He's stable, but stable. A word that meant waiting. I sat vigil. Julian arriving with vending machine coffee and that unflappable calm. His thumb stroking my knuckles as monitors beeped our requiem. Bruce woke groggy. I's finding mine first. Didn't mean to scare you. Kid. You didn't. I lied. Throat tight. Just. Don't do it again. He managed a grin. Weak as winter light. No promises. But hey, tell Julian thanks for the sketch. Hung it by my bunk. The sketch. A quick doodle of us three at the pier. Waves framing a makeshift family. It hung crooked on the ER curtain. Charcoal smudges like fingerprints of fate. Recovery was a slog, Bruce hobbling on crutches. Me shuttling between shifts and hospital runs. Julian's apartment our sanctuary. Nights blurred into caretaking. Ice packs for Bruce's hip. Takeout for 3. Julian's stories pulling laughs from the exhaustion. Remember that time in foster care, he'd say. When the dog ate the Christmas ham. We laughed till we cried. Laughter was medicine, but the real heal came in whispers. One night, post-meds haze, Bruce pulled me aside in his room, the one I'd grown up crashing in after nightmares. Alex. About the journal. I kept a page. The one with Julian's poem. My breath hitched. I'd written it after our first kiss. Verses clumsy as a kid's first swing. Why? 'Cause it's you. Beautiful, even if it scares me still. He handed it over. Edges singed but words intact. In your eyes, the sounds endless blue / a boy like me. Finally true. Tears blurred the ink. I love you, Dad. Love you more. Simple words. American as they come. Mending what fire couldn't touch. Spring thawed the sound. Cherry blossoms dusting the U District like confetti. Julian's first exhibit at Cornish. A gallery crawl in Pioneer Square. Drew a crowd. His pier mural blown up to wall size. Us immortalized in oils and light. Bruce came. Cane tapping a proud rhythm. Clapping Julian on the back with "Damn fine work. Son, son." The word hung sweet, a bridge across chasms. But romance isn't linear. Conflict simmers beneath bliss. Julian's ex surfaced that May, a ghost named Tyler, all brooding artist vibes and unresolved baggage. He showed at the cafe, just passing through, but his eyes lingered on Julian like old claims. I saw the texts first. Innocent miss our talks, but jealousy coiled, green and vicious. Who is he? I demanded one night, post-shift, the apartment air thick with unspoken. Julian sighed, running hands through his curls. Ancient history. Before you. Why the Inquisition? 'Cause he's sniffing around. Insecurity, raw as road rash from a wipeout. He pulled me close, forehead to mine. Alex, you're it. The sketch. The story, you. We fought anyway, words like weather, stormy but passing. Made up in the sheets, bodies reaffirming vows. His whispers chasing shadows. Only you. Summer burned hot. Barbecues on Bruce's deck with PFLAG pals. Julian flipping burgers in a kiss, the cook apron that read Queer Edition. Laughter echoed. Betrayals buried under layers of grace. But the real climax brewed in July. Heat wave shimmering the asphalt as Tyler crashed back. Full force. He cornered Julian at the exhibit's closing party. Wine glass in hand. Voice low and laced with venom. You're slumming it with the bookstore boy? After us. Julian shoved him off. But the damage rippled. Texts escalating to voicemails. You'll regret this. I found out late, after a double shift, walking in on Julian pale on the futon. Phone clutched like a grenade. He won't stop, Julian admitted, voice small. Thinks he owns a piece of me. Rage boiled, but I swallowed it for him. We go to the cops. Together. The report was clinical, harassment logged, restraining order filed. But Tyler's shadow lingered. A betrayal not of blood but of pasts we can't outrun. Nights grew restless. Julian's sketches darker. My sleep fractured by what-ifs. The turning point came at the pier, our anchor, dusk painting the water crimson. Bruce joined us, uninvited but welcome, cooler of beers in tow. Heard about the ex. Need backup. We sat, legs dangling, stories spilling like libations. Bruce shared his own ghost, Mom's affair, the night she left with a suitcase and a sorry. Betrayal's a bitch, he said, passing a bottle. But it don't define the ending. Julian nodded, head on my shoulder. How do you move past? You don't. You build over. Bruce's eyes met mine, steady. Like we did, that night, under stars pricking the velvet sky. Julian and I recommitted, rings not yet, but promises etched deeper than ink. Tyler faded to noise, a cautionary tale in our epic. Fall circled back, leaves crunching underfoot as we walked Fremont's alleys. Julian's arm around me, Bruce trailing with tales of psych gossip. America unfolded generous then. Pride floats we'd march in come June. Cornish scholarships renewed. A family forged in fire's wake. Yet the story's heart pulsed romantic. Humanistic. Love as verb, as choice. Julian's mural hung in our new place. A loft in Soto. Bruce's wedding gift of sorts reminding us daily. While I'd slept that long ago night, worlds had upended, but from the ruins, we'd raised cathedrals of trust, of touch, of tomorrow. By winter's grip loosening into tentative green, our triad, me, Julian, Bruce, had solidified into something unbreakable, a queer family quilt stitched from frayed edges. Bruce's hip mended enough for short hikes in Discovery Park, where we'd trek the loops, him grumbling about hippie trails, while Julian pointed out salal berries like a botanist on a bender. I'd watch them, this unlikely pair. My dad with his tool belt tan lines, Julian with his paint-flecked jeans, bickering over trail mix brands, and feel a swell of gratitude so fierce it bordered on ache. But gratitude's cousin is vulnerability, and ours cracked open one drizzly March afternoon. Julian's Cornish prof had tapped him for a mural commission. Downtown, on a tech startup's facade. Big exposure. "This could be it, Alex," he said, eyes alight over pad thai in our loft, chopsticks waving like conductors' batons. "Gallery shows, maybe even LA. The word dangled, seductive and sharp, sun-soaked hills, queer meccas like West Hollywood, but oceans from Seattle's rainy embrace. "That's huge," I managed, forcing a smile around my spring roll. Inside, panic flickered. Distance. The thief that steals breaths in long-distance sighs. He saw it. Of course, Julian always did. "Hey!" His foot nudged mine under the table. Grounding. "It's a maybe. And if it happens, we figure us. We." The pronoun that had become our North Star. But figures loomed larger as the commission solidified. 3 months in Silver Lake. Stipend covering a sublet. Flights for visits. I nodded through the logistics, heart a drum solo in my chest. But nights brought dreams of peers dissolving into smog-choked freeways, Julian's hand slipping from mine. Bruce sensed the storm, cornering me at his garage one Saturday, oil-slicked rags in hand as he tuned the Subaru. "Kids flying the coop? Not yet." I leaned against the workbench, dodging a socket wrench. "But if he does, then you chase." Simple, Bruce-style wisdom, delivered with a grease-streaked grin. "Or he comes back. Love's not a one-way street. It's that damn 405 at rush hour." I laughed, but the fear clung, a barnacle on my hull. Betrayal's old scar itched too. Tyler's echoes in every unanswered text, every late-night networking call. Julian swore it was nothing, and I believed him mostly. Trust is muscle, built slow after tears. The send-off party was low-key, our loft packed with Cornish misfits and bookstore regulars, fairy lights strung like captured stars, craft IPAs flowing. Bruce manned the grill on the balcony, flipping veggie skewers with surprising finesse. For the vegans, don't get excited. While Julian held court, sketches passed hand to hand like contraband art. I hovered at the edges, beer warming in my grip, pride warring with the hollow in my gut. He found me eventually, slipping through the crowd to pull me into the bedroom, door clicking shut on the bass thump of indie folk. "You're brooding," he accused, lips brushing my jaw. "Am not, liar." His hands slid under my shirt, calluses from brushes rough against my skin, igniting the familiar fire. "You are." Kiss deepening, bodies aligning. "Talk to me." So I did, spilling the fear, raw as peeled fruit, losing him to brighter lights, smaller closets, the betrayal of miles. He listened, then cupped my face, green eyes fierce. "Alex, LA's a gig, not goodbye. You're my home, the pier, this city, your laugh in the dark. I choose you, every sketch, every sunrise." We made love then, urgent and tender, the party a distant hum as we mapped each other anew. Promises pressed into skin, vows whispered against pulses. Afterward, tangled in sheets, he sketched me quick on a napkin. Eyes closed, lips curved, labeled mine. The airport drop was agony. Security lines snaking like a taunt. Bruce clapping Julian's shoulder with a gruff, "Knock 'em dead, artist." Me holding on too long at the gate, his cologne lingering like a ghost. "3 months," he murmured, forehead to mine. "Then we're road tripping back. Promise." My voice cracked. Boyish. "Swear." One last kiss. Public and unapologetic. Drawing a few smiles. One raised eyebrow. America, in its patchwork way, winking approval. The first weeks were a grind. Loft echoing without him. Shifts at the bookstore blurring into sameness. Bruce's check-ins over meatloaf, a band-aid on loneliness. Texts flew constant. Murals kicking my ass. Send peer pics? I'd oblige. Heart lifting at his selfies. Paint splattered. Grinning amid palm fronds. Caption missing my muse. But distance amplifies doubts. A call cut short by meeting. A story from a Cornish alum about Julian's charismatic vibe at a WeHo bar crawl. Innocent threads weaving paranoia. Then the photo, social media scroll. Julian arm in arm with a lithe brunette at a gallery opening. Her laugh captured mid-bubble, his head thrown back. Networking, the caption read. But the intimacy stung. Tyler's shadow lengthening. I confronted via FaceTime, screen grainy with his hotel Wi-Fi. "Who's she?" Julian's brow furrowed, exhaustion etching lines. "Kara, Prof's TA." We talked shop, mural techniques. "Why?" The photo. Looks. Close. A pause. Heavy as fog. "Alex, come on. It's work." "You know me, do I?" The question poisoned the air. Unspoken but virulent. "Just be careful. LA's full of temptations." His laugh was sharp, wounded. "Temptations? Like trusting my boyfriend across the country." The call ended in static. Apologies tumbling too late. Guilt gnawed. My insecurity the real betrayer, projecting old hurts onto new horizons. Bruce dragged me fishing that weekend, rods casting into Lake Washington, the slap of water a metronome to his lecture. "Don't borrow trouble, kid. I almost lost you to my fears, don't lose him to yours." Wise words, but the rift widened. Texts grew sparse, calls clipped with deadlines. Then the bomb. A mutual friend messaged, "Saw Julian with some guy at the Abbey. Looked cozy." Cozy. The word curdled. I drove to Bruce's, bourbon bottle in hand, spilling the mess over his kitchen table. "What if he's..." Bruce poured shots. Steady. "What if he's not? You're spiraling on maybes. But maybes metastasize." The climax crashed mid-May. A package arriving at the loft Julian sketchpad. Forwarded from LA. Pages riffling open to a half-finished drawing. Not the peer, not me, but a stranger's profile, sharp jaw, tousled hair, labeled inspo, inspo. Inspiration. Or infidelity. Rage blurred the lines. I booked a flight, red-eye to LAX, landing in smoggy dawn with a heart armored in hurt. The sublet was a walk-up in Echo Park, bougainvillea rioting over the door. Pounded, Julian answering in boxers and bedhead, eyes widening. "Alex? What?" Saw the sketch. I thrust the pad at him, voice steel. "Who's the inspo?" He blinked, then laughed. Hollow, disbelieving. "Jesus, that's from a photo ref. For the mural, a client. Not God, not what you think, but doubt's a drug, high on its own fumes." And the guy at the Abbey? Kara? Convenient network. His face shuddered. hurt flashing green. You flew here to accuse me? After everything. After everything. Like trusting you not to betray me like everyone else. The words exploded. Years of closets and conflagrations fueling the blast. Julian recoiled, then advanced. Voice low thunder. Betray? I've given you my all sketches. Soul. The damn future. And you crash in with this shit. We shouted then. Accusations ricocheting off peeling plaster. My fears. His frustrations. The strain of separation laid bare. A neighbor banged the wall. We ignored it, collapsing onto the futon in exhausted silence. Tears carving tracks. I'm sorry, I whispered finally, hand finding his. Scared of losing you, he sighed, pulling me close. You won't. But trust, Alex, it's the canvas we paint on. Without it, we're blank. We spent the weekend mending, hikes in Griffith Park, tacos from a truck where mariachi blared, his mural unveiling under floodlights. The pier, eternal in acrylic bold. See, he traced the figures. Always you. I flew back lighter, the sketchpad reclaimed, doubts dissolved in desert sun. But the scare lingered, a reminder. Love's dramatic, emotional tightrope, romantic in its peril, humanistic in its humility. June bloomed with pride. Rainbow flags snapping in the breeze as we marched Capitol Hill. Bruce beside us in a Dads for Equality tee. Sign held high, love wins even for old farts. Julian's arm linked mine, sweat slick and sure. The crowd's roar a baptism. That night, post-parade buzz in our loft. Champagne fizzing. He dropped to one knee, ring simple, silver with a wave-etched band. Marry me, Alex. Make the sketches real. Tears blurred him. Joy a tidal wave. Yes. God. Yes. Bruce toasted later, eyes misty over whiskey. To family, blood. Chosen. All of it. Betrayals faded to backstory. Our story arcing toward grace. Engagement sealed our pact. But summer's heat tested it like a forge. Wedding plans unfolded in Seattle's sticky haze. Venue hunts at backyard gardens overlooking the sound. Julian sketching invites with swirling waves and intertwined initials. Bruce threw in gruffly, vetoing tuxes for something casual, like khakis. His way of saying I'm all in. America felt generous then. Obergefell echoes in every clerk's nod at the courthouse. Same-sex marriage a right etched in law, if not always heart. Yet romance thrives on friction, and ours sparked anew with Tyler's return. Not a ghost, but flesh, paroled from his own dramas into a Cornish alumni gig. He slunk into Julian's orbit at a portfolio review, all faux remorse and water under the bridge smiles. I spotted them at the cafe post-event. Tyler's hand on Julian's arm, lingering too long, laughter too intimate. Old habits, Julian dismissed later, over stir-fry in the loft. But the seed planted, watered by my lingering LA scars. He's harmless, harmless as a lit fuse. Text started Tyler's, innocuous at first. Loved the mural. Man. Drinks? Julian deleted them, but I saw the notifications. Paranoia a persistent itch. The conflict escalated at our engagement dinner. A hole-in-the-wall Italian in Belltown. Candlelight flickering on Chianti glasses. Bruce was mid-toast. To love that sticks, like good concrete. When Tyler sauntered in, uninvited, coincidentally at the bar. His eyes locked on Julian, a challenge slung casual as a cocktail. What the fuck? I muttered, chair scraping. Julian's jaw tightened. Ignore him, but ignoring's not my strong suit. I approached, voice low venom. Leave. Now. Tyler smirked, martini swirling. Protective much? Just saying hi to an old friend. Friend. The word twisted ugly. Like the voicemails? The stalking? Bruce loomed then. A wall of flannel and fury. You heard him, punk. Out. Tyler slunk away. But the night soured. Appetites lost. Toasts turning tense. Julian stormed out mid-tiramisu, me chasing to the alley, rain-slick cobblestones mirroring my turmoil. Why didn't you block him? I demanded, hurt hot as the downpour. Because I pitied him, broken home. Bad breaks, sound familiar. His voice cracked, mirroring mine. You think betrayal's only yours to carry? The fight spilled raw. My trust fractures from Bruce's fire, his from foster flings that burned quick and cruel. We're better than this, he said finally, hands framing my face, rain mingling with tears. Choose us. I did, pulling him close, kisses fierce under the awning, the city's pulse sinking our heartbeats. Tyler was a blip, reported to campus security, fading to footnote. Autumn gilded the edges. Wedding date set for spring equinox. Symbolic. Julian insisted. Balance in all things. We dove into vows. Me penning prose from the salvaged journal page. Him etching symbols of peer and flame. Bruce surprised with a rehearsal dinner at the VFW. Blue-collar bash with karaoke and crab legs. His speech halting but heartfelt. I failed you once, Alex. With fire and fear. But seeing you too. It's redemption. For all of us. Tears flowed free. Humanistic grace in a hall of faded flags. America, in its veteran veins, nodding along. But climax loomed, dramatic as a squall. December's solstice brought snow, rare, Seattle blanketing, and with it, Bruce's relapse. A site accident, minor on paper, slipped rebar, gash needing stitches, but scans whispered worse, early arthritis flaring. The hip never fully healed. He waved it off. Old bones. But I saw the limp deepen, the pain pills piling. Guilt gnawed him. He confessed over Christmas Eve cocoa. Fire crackling in the loft. Pushed too hard. Wanted to build the arch for your wedding gazebo, surprise. The what? Julian perked. Elf hat askew from tree trimming. Bruce shrugged. Sheepish. Figured you'd say vows under something sturdy. My hands. Emotion choked me. Love's depth. Betrayal's ghost in his failure. Dad. We don't need arches. We need you. He nodded, eyes glassy. Then rest it is. Doc's orders. Recovery redux. But sweeter. Julian cooking bone broth. Me reading aloud from the fire next time. Bruce grumbling through physical therapy with pirate jokes. Tyler's shadow? Obliterated when he emailed an apology, therapy mandated. Genuine-ish. Julian forwarding with a C. Growth. Winter waned. Spring stirring with crocuses and cherry petals. Wedding week dawned clear. Anomaly in the drizzle. Guests trickling in. Julian's foster aunt with her quilted hugs. My cousins thawing with rainbow pins. Flag crew in full regalia. Rehearsal at the garden. Overlooking the sound. Waves applauding our walk-through. Ended in laughter. Bruce practicing his giving away with exaggerated sniffles. The eve brought nerves. Julian and I separated by tradition in adjacent airbums. Texts flying silly. Missing your snoring already. Morning broke golden. Me in linen slacks and a vest embroidered with waves. Bruce adjusting my tie with calloused fingers. Proud of you, kid. More than words. The ceremony unfolded like poetry. Officiant queer and wry, quoting Whitman amid vows exchanged under a willow bower. No arch needed. Nature's enough. Julian's eyes, green as ever, locked on mine. You woke me from sleepwalking, Alex. My sketch, my story, mine echoed. You pulled me from ashes. My fire, my forever. Rings slid on, kisses sealed. Cheers erupted, Bruce whooping loudest. Tears unashamed. Receptions spilled into picnic blankets. Food trucks belting tacos and craft brews. Julian's mural projected on a sheet like a benediction. But drama's last gasp came post-cake, as dusk bruised the sky. Aunt Linda appeared, uninvited, tentative, a peace offering of pie in hand. Heard it was today. Thought. Maybe. Bruce tensed beside me, but I stepped forward, Julian's hand in mine. It's open. If you're here for love. She nodded, eyes downcast. I was wrong. About a lot. A hug. Awkward but real, humanity's messy mend. Night deepened. Dance floor swaying to Chapel Roan and old-school Springsteen. Bruce twirling Julian with surprising grace. Told you, khakis work, he quipped. Honeymoon whispered next. Road trip down the coast. Big Sir Cliff's calling. But first, the pier, our ritual. Bottles clinking in toast to beginnings. Love, we'd learned, is dramatic in its depths, emotional in its exposures, romantic in its reaches, humanistic in its humilities. Betrayals? Stepping stones to stronger shores. The coastal drive south was our exhale. Highway 101 unspooling like ribbon. Ocean crashing turquoise to our left. Redwoods whispering secrets to the right. Julian drove first. Windows down. Salt wind whipping our hair as we belted Fleetwood Mac off a crackly Bluetooth speaker. Go your own way thumped ironic and true. We'd carved ours from betrayal's brambles, emerging scarred but sovereign. Stops blurred idyllic. Mendocino's cliffs for sunrise yoga, Julian's idea. My groans comic relief. Napa detours for Pinot flights where we toasted to us. Uncorked. Bruce texted daily, sights slow without you too. Don't elope in Cali, his humor the tether home. America unfurled generous on that stretch. Roadside diners with pie slices big as hubcaps. Queer couples picnicking unremarked. The land's vastness mirroring our expanding hearts. Big Sir's cabin was rustic heaven. Cedar beams. Stone fireplace. A deck cantilevered over abyss where seals barked up symphonies. We hiked Pfeiffer Beach at dawn. Purple sand shifting underfoot like dreams. Julian's hand warm in mine. This, he said, tracing my ring, is the sketch I always meant. Nights were ours alone. Bodies reacquainting in firelight. Slow and sacred. Whispers weaving futures. His gallery in Brooklyn maybe. My novel querying agents. A dog named after the pier. No rush. Just rhythm. Love's lazy river after rapids. Back in Seattle. Reality reasserted gentle. Julian's adjunct gig at Cornish. My promotion to assistant manager with a raise for community outreach. Read. Queer Book Club. Bruce's crew threw a welcome home barbecue. Ribs smoking. His limp barely noticeable as he regaled with wedding anecdotes. Your cousin Jerry cried more than the brides. But life's not plotless. Conflict simmers eternal. Fall brought whispers. A developer eyeing the pier for condos. Progress threatening our touchstone. Petitions flew. Protests planned. We rallied. Signs scrawled save our stories. Julian's art amplifying the cry. Bruce joined, picket line stalwart, his voice booming at council meetings. That peers more than wood. It's where sons become men, where love finds footing. The fight dragged, bureaucratic as molasses, but victory inched, landmark status granted, our voices a chorus in the din. Humanistic win, everyday folks banding, queers and straights shoulder to shoulder, proving America's muscle in unity. Tyler's coda came quiet, a gallery invite, his solo show in Tacoma. Julian went solo, returning with a purchased print. Abstract waves, dedication to second chances. Closure, he said, hanging it beside the mural. I nodded, old jealousy's ash. Winter holidays blended traditions. Bruce's tree strung with rainbow ornaments. Julian's solstice candles flickering vows renewed. New Year's at the pier. Fireworks blooming over the sound. We clinked thermoses. To upended worlds. Spring cycled back. Anniversaries marked with pier picnics. Bruce's health steady. Our love deepening roots. I finished the novel while I slept. Meta and raw, querying with Julian's edits sharpening every line. Rejections stung. But acceptances whispered, one agent. Intrigued. Climax's echo faded to harmony. But drama lingered in small keys. A scare when Bruce's doc flagged a shadow on scans. Biopsy clear but breath held collective. False alarm, he gruffed, but hugged tighter, valuing days. Julian's big break landed summer solstice. NYC gallery, month-long residency. This time, no fracture, we planned tandem, my sabbatical aligning. Sublet in Brooklyn with fire escapes for sketching stars. Bruce waved us off at the airport. Don't forget the grandkids. Adopted. Whatever. East Coast pulse thrilled. Subway symphonies. Central Park jogs hand in hand. Queer bars pulsing with possibility. Julian's show dazzled. Critics buzzing raw emotion. American heart. Me beaming from the wings. Betrayal's ghost, banished. In its place, grace. Letters from Aunt Linda, tentative bridges. High school buds resurfacing with proud of you. Man. Back west. Life layered richer. Novel published to quiet acclaim. Book tour hitting indie shelves from Portland to Boise. Bruce retired partial. Tinkering a workshop for grandkid projects. Winking at our talks of fostering. Years wheeled. Children came, 2 boys. Foster to adopt. Towhead whirlwinds named after waves and fire. They called Bruce Papa Brew, Julian Daddy J, me Dad. A trinity complete. Old age crept gentle. Bruce's chair by the fire. Stories retold with embellishments. Julian's arthritic hands still sketching. Mine typing sequels. The pier endured. Plaque noting site of dreams. 1990s forever. On my last dawn, cancer swift. Unfair. I gathered them. Hospital overlooking the sound. While I slept, I whispered. Julian's hand in mine. Boys curled close. Bruce's grip firm. You built my world right side up. Eyes closed to their tears. But not before the hook. Love's endless. Betrayal's just the prologue. In the end, humanistic arc complete. Dramatic falls to romantic rises. Emotional depths plumbed for light. America, flawed and fierce, cradling our queer saga in its broad arms. While we'd slept through storms, waking was the miracle.